Filming it.
But it's the same as one because I have one.
Me too.
Lại tới.
This doesn't show in scale. Busan.
We struggle.
That's so cute, the toy.
I can see it. These are babies. Oh! Oh my gosh, they'd be pinching my hands.
Is it a pagoda or is it just a temple? What's the difference? I think pagoda is supposed to be like masculine. Appeasing.